made from stardust, so shine.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast, the Fatherhood series. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from fathers sharing their perspectives and experiences on all aspects of the fatherhood journey. This evening, I have the privilege of speaking with Erik Clemons, father of four and co-founder of the Connecticut Community Outreach and Revitalization Program, also known as ConCorp, a subsidiary of CONCAT, designed to explore and implement opportunities for economic development and investment in New Haven, Connecticut. Prior to founding ConCorp, Erik was the founding CEO and president of the Connecticut Center for Arts and Technology, CONCAT, a nonprofit organization designed on the model of Bill Strickland's National Center for Arts and Technology, which is dedicated to creating empowering art-based educational environments for at-risk public school students and workforce training programs for under and unemployed adults. Erik has an extensive background in nonprofit management and organizational leadership. For more than 20 years, Erik has committed himself to serving the best interests of diverse and traditionally underserved communities. Erik serves as an education fellow at the Aspen Institute, Yale New Haven Hospital trustee, member of the Connecticut State Board of Education, board chair of the Housing Authority of New Haven, Connecticut, board of trustees at New Haven Bank, Quinnipiac University Board of Trustees. Erik holds a Bachelor's of Science in Sociology from Southern Connecticut State University and a Master's of Arts in Theology and Ethics from the Hartford Seminary. He is also a recipient of an honorary doctorate of humane letters from Albertus Magnus College, New Haven, Connecticut. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I am so excited about this conversation. I know only have you for a short time. This evening, we're speaking with Erik Clemons of ConCorp, and we're just going to jump right into this conversation.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, and good to see you, Hafiza. Thank you for having me. It's really exciting.
Excellent, excellent. So, prior to your first experience, what was some of your messaging or exposure to the whole pregnancy, labor, delivery process?
That's a great question. I had very little exposure to the pregnancy delivery process. My only exposure to that was just seeing women pregnant,
Okay.
and then sometime later, having a child that was once in the woman's body. And so outside of that, that's all I really knew.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a common thread in most of the conversations that I have with men and women. It's not something that prior to becoming pregnant, do we really look into what this means, how it transforms us, what this process is outside of media and kind of like, for me, it was like the Cosby Show was that introduction to somewhat of what it might be like.
I even as a child, I remember one of my favorite shows was Good Times, and there was an episode where I think it was Janet Jackson's role. They said she had the stomach mumps, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and so I recall that vividly, and
Okay.
then also I think about the stigma around teenage pregnancy, right? There were a lot of young women who were pregnant, who had gotten pregnant, who had children while we were growing up. And what I always thought about was there was really no stigma for the male, right? So because there had to be a male that got her pregnant, right? But there was this stigma because there was the showing of that, right? And there was something about the showing that it was always mentioned growing up,
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that perspective, and I'm all too familiar with Penny in that role. But Yes, the media has absolutely played a significant role in how we envision what pregnancy is and what this whole process looks like. So, moving into your first experience, um, were there things when you all found out that you were having a baby? Were there things that you all did to kind of prepare yourself? Were there classes? Were there information outside of like prenatal visits?
Yeah, when my wife and I, well, my wife had a daughter before her and I were together, and Kiara, who is now my child,
Yeah.
but I was not her biological father, and so my first experience was really my second daughter, who is not, her name is Nile, and I remember Sharon being pregnant, and I would not miss an appointment, and I work nights, and so our appointments would be in the morning, and I would make sure I was at every appointment because I just found it to be so fascinating. Not just the idea of this human being inside of my wife,
Mhm.
but the as you mentioned, the care that is needed, the things she had to do for her body and her health to ensure a healthy child,
Mhm.
and so I just felt like there was such pressure on her to ensure that the child was healthy, that I didn't, I didn't have that pressure. She
Mhm.
had it, and so I vividly recall that, and I vividly recall Hafiza when she was in labor and giving birth to Nile, and Nile has like she was not coming out, and I remember my wife just crying, and I remember the doctor being incredibly impatient and
Right.
and annoyed
Mm.
that things weren't going the way he wanted them
Right.
to go, and so much so that I called my mother to come
Mhm.
to the hospital because I had no idea what I was doing and what
Ah,
I was in for. And
wow.
so I recall that vividly. I recall the doctor's behavior in
Mm.
response to my wife's behavior.
Wow. And that is a powerful statement. And I truly appreciate just that experience and the sharing of that, because I think that is very indicative of how we are where we are
Mm,
with this whole maternal mortality, morbidity rates of Black women. And one of the things we speak about on this platform a lot. Especially talking with birth workers, is the support and advocacy. So the fact that you were in the space and you had an awareness of the energy of the doctor, and because your wife is in a very vulnerable state at this time, like her complete focus is on herself and bringing this life into the world safely. So to have that outside kind of, you know negative energy is extremely impactful in that situation. So to have that awareness and then to call on the support that you have, which again is the advocacy that as women we need in that space,
yeah,
is just really a phenomenal example of why we need the support in this situation.
yeah. Wow. Gotcha.
And yeah. So I find that I truly appreciate that point of view.
Hmm.
And so you have multiple births that you can kind of compare that you've experienced.
Yeah.
Were there any significant differences in that process of pregnancy and then labor and delivery?
All were very different.
Mhm.
Hey,
And
family, thank you for tuning in. Check out the full episode at our Labors of Love podcast YouTube channel. And while you're there, subscribe and turn on those notifications. Your support is truly appreciated. Peace.